And you also build furniture, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, me and my wife.
Instagram, where you have influencers who are saying that AI is changing everything, making millionaires overnight.
And the AI is never going to say, hey, maybe we should refactor this. Maybe we should not use this framework.
There are a lot of claims happening that we wouldn't need engineers to build software. Then do you think that's going to happen or not so soon? People right now use AI like a flashlight, but they should build the electrical grid.
This is why engineering is never going anywhere.
That's also one of the reasons I started doing this podcast, because I wanted to. And if you were forced to put money on some, at least on just one AI trend, which you think will survive the hype, what would it be? Shawn, welcome to ChaiNet. You don't just build AI agents, you build real useful things. So tell us how you got there. Would love to hear your story a bit.
Yeah, sure. So I have a long history in computer science. I have a systems engineering degree, and then I went back to school. I thought I was going to get a master's in computer science, but it was just too much math for me. So I went and got an MBA. And on that journey, what I've realized is that a lot of times in engineering, we don't really think about the business case. What we do is we think about the best system possible for the system and not necessarily for the user. So I shifted, and about 5, 6 years ago, I decided that I'm going to identify the human problems and build systems for those humans instead of trying to get the human to change into the system.
And you also build furniture, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my wife, that's like our hobby together. We upcycle stuff. So just like anything, I don't like to see things get wasted. So during the weekend, we will go and find things on Craigslist and offer up for free, and then turn them into something nice and try to get them back into the real world
Yeah.
instead into the landfill.
That's wow, that's amazing. So you're building AI agents which do real things, and you're building real things.
Yeah, these
Great.
hands stay busy.
I want to get a more broader idea about AI in general, because you're in the trenches, you're building things for people who are using them in real life. So um, versus there's Instagram, where you have influencers who are saying that AI is changing everything, making millionaires overnight, and use this AI tool, and you can make um, $10,000 in the next 1 week. But you've been implementing things for real companies, for real people, right? So tell us something, what is actually working versus what's just complete hype.
Well, anything that anyone says is production level or that you can do outside of something that you would use for an MVP or for even a proof of concept, that's going to be hype.
Hmm.
Now, what I mean by that is anything that I've seen built on a tool by someone who doesn't understand engineering is the easily most hacked together thing, and also it exposes too much and has too much bloat involved in it. So like I actually do live streams once a week where it's systems engineer vibe codes, and the things that I could build in 30 to 40 minutes sometimes take 5, 6 hours, and
Oh.
I have to stop myself from fixing it as we go. So like I just put myself in the mindset of someone who doesn't understand code, who doesn't understand any of the stuff that's happening, doesn't understand the pitfalls and traps that are coming, and I just let them happen. And
Mhm.
now I don't have a cursor or a Replit or a Bolt account. I just use offline tools. So I'm using Ollama VS Code and Qwen 3.
Right.
But if you're using Claude, like Claude or GPT Pro or any of these like IDEs that are just VS Code forks anyways, you're going to be running into thousands and thousands of dollars of just bloat for no reason. And you're going to get to a point where it's 95% workable. But as we know in engineering, 95 to 100, that is where the
Yes.
it's like so many times we hit 95% of something and realize it's faster and better to start at 0% just
Yes.
because you'll get back to that 95% faster. But if you're not an engineer and you don't understand systems thinking and you can't break this stuff down, you're just going to hit your head against the wall. And the AI is never going to say, hey, maybe we should refactor this. Maybe we should not use this framework. Maybe we shouldn't try to use Electron as a base level for this because the human that's running this doesn't even know what Electron is. So they're like, well, it works for Slack and Discord. Why can't I make it work for my app? And then you run into these distribution problems where, yeah, it'll work on your machine, but how many people have we seen run a Python script that runs on their machine, but then when they distribute it, you get into import
Yeah,
and you
of
just
course.
just dependency
That'll
heavy.
work. I think that makes sense. But do you think in that case, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of claims happening that we wouldn't need engineers to build software? Then do you think that's going to happen or not so soon?
I don't think it'll ever happen. It's just
Mm,
it comes down to this. It's because engineers, I'm biased, obviously, but engineers think a certain type of way. And what we actually do at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter what type of engineer, from civil to electrical to software, it doesn't matter. We take very complex things and break them down into small, easy to solve problems. And eventually, those small problems stack on top of each other to solve a very complex problem. What the issue is, if we don't understand systems thinking, when we try to tackle these problems, it's the old African proverb, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Well, the
mm,
LLMs just try to consume the entire elephant. Like they say, okay, well, we will tackle front end, back end, UI, UX, the entire thing from the very beginning without actually defining what it is that we're trying to solve. So when we go and we use tools that don't allow us to break down these individual problems, you're just never going to get to a point where you can identify what breaks. So when we try to solve complex problems in one go, it never will work
right.
because again you'll get
Mm,
to 95% of the solution and you'll never
right.
be able to move past that 5%. So
Mm,
that's what
mm,
engineering does. Engineering continually just gets to 95%, and then the next 95% is 97% of the last 97 95, and then usually it's a surprise when we hit that 100. When it's done, we look back and we say, oh, that's cool, we just built this.
actually going through some of your posts, and there was something which I found really interesting. You said that people right now use AI like a flashlight, but they should be, they should build the electrical grid. So
Right.
what does that look like in practice?
So right now, what I mean by that is, a flashlight is going to be something that just illuminates a very small area and doesn't actually allow you to do anything other than see directly in front of you. These first few steps. But if you incorporate these tools into the actual business layers, so like again, the fuzzy logic behind all of this stuff is really where it comes down to allowing any user to ask in specific questions and get specific answers. When I'm growing up, all of this stuff would be a magic show. If you told me when I was 19 years old and I first started to learn computer science that in the future you would have basically an oracle that absolutely knows everything, that you can ask a question in a very, very unspecific way and get an actual answer back. I mean, that's Star Trek. That's
Yes.
something that is absolutely amazing. But the thing is, it's tries to be abstracted more than that. Like right now, we have all of this hype that says that this is more than that, when that is amazing in and of itself. So things like RAG parsing or onboarding or talking to standard operating procedures for a new or current employee, this is like baking it into the electrical system. This is
Right.
baking all of these tools into your business processes so that way, let's say you hire me for a new job and I'm coming and I'm supposed to watch 10 videos on whatever we're supposed to do. First of all, I'm not doing that. No human is doing that. They may put the video on and then just kind of scroll Instagram, or they may read the first two SOPs. And then by the time they're on the 10th or the 11th, their brain is checked out, even if they want to do it. So let the tool itself use all of that information. You have the videos, parse the videos. You have the PDFs and the docs, parse those. You have Notion databases and ClickUp files and all this stuff. Parse that into an embeddings table And now, like for instance, yesterday, Google released Gemma embeddings, which is an
Right.
on-device embeddings that works with sentence transformers. Like you literally can like embed your entire phone into this tool, and you can give someone like a work phone that has a chatbot into it that has all of the SOPs and everything built in. So on their phone, they have a chatbot that has 100 PDFs and
Right.
10 videos. And it can ask you, it allows the user to ask the question in specific way, and then it goes and understands the actual information that your business has. So this
Correct.
is the type of thing where you're baking it into what I call like the electrical system. It's not a battery powered thing that allows you to kind of shine a light on a very small area, and then that's it. This is like integral. This is built into the business processes. But you got
Hmm.
to be careful with that too, because you start giving it too much leeway, and you don't actually put reins on this, and it will hallucinate all day long. So
Yes.
the hardware and the software, they need to work together, and this is why engineering is never going anywhere.
Right. That's a very interesting. I love the scalpel analogy. That you cannot let the scalpel guide the surgeon. The surgeon has to guide it, even if it's very advanced, even if it's robotic, and all of it. Ultimately, you need the surgeon behind to actually do the things. And if there's someone who's a quack, then ultimately they're gonna mess things up, right? And then
Yep.
there's gonna be some major casualties in terms of a business probably, but yeah, but that makes sense. Sean, from what I've seen, in general, you say that you're an offline AI engineer, right? We started discussing this in the beginning of the call, but explain to me, as if I'm not a tech person, what does it mean as a business person? What is like a local AI versus a cloud AI, and what are the why would I, as a business person, want a local AI or an
Sure.
offline AI? What
So,
do you call it?
well, offline and local, those are like going to be air gapped, meaning that they don't connect to the internet in any way. So if you are in something like a lawyer or a doctor or a financial advisor or a therapist or somebody who has specific ethical and moral guidelines for data protection, banking, and all this stuff, right? Government and like if there is going to be like a class action lawsuit against you if this confidential information gets out, then you build systems that don't ever even connect to the internet. So no matter what, an attack vector is going to be there if it connects online. If you allow someone to access your information through a remote connection, then that's an attack vector. Like this is just security 101. Remove that completely, and now you have something running on an intranet in the same building that you are that you cannot connect to unless you're in the same building. You're HIPAA compliant, you're EUAI compliant,
Hmm.
your all compliancy is now involved in you don't really even have to think about if you're compliant because it literally doesn't connect to the internet. Someone would have to be on site in order to like hack that. And that's not even going to even work because all the everything is going to be embedded. So you would have to literally have someone coming into your server, connect to your server physically that doesn't even have a monitor. So they'd have to bring their like it's just not gonna happen.
Hmm.
So it's like if you work at like a power plant or you work at something that is a critical infrastructure for information access, you don't want that being sent over the internet, period. Beyond this, like if you just look at Claude right now, Claude is just sent out an email to all of their users that unless you're on enterprise, they are going to be auto opting you in to train all of your data into their newer models. And they're going to keep that for 5 years. So anything that you've said to Claude over the last year or so, and going forward for 5 years, will be scrubbed and anonymized and kept for their future model training. Now, the question that I would ask any of the engineers on that, if this tool is scrubbing and anonymizing just for the je ne sais quoi of humans, then how can you go to Claude and say, create me a YouTube video in the voice of XYZ YouTuber. Don't pick
Hmm.
somebody like PewDiePie. Pick somebody with like 10,000 or 15,000 views, like per video, and it
Right.
will give you a video in that person's voice. Those
Right.
two things cannot exist in the same world. You cannot say that you are scrubbing and anonymizing information, and then
Right.
in the same sentence, give me back something in my voice. That how
Right.
do you cannot justify that. Those two things cannot exist. Like if I'm
Even if they
saying,
are, there's something
you
really
know,
wrong, right? If people are doing it and thinking that it's working, there's something really, really wrong.
yeah, either it's complete. Like I just don't understand. As a systems engineer, I'm looking
Right.
at this and I'm like, how do you tell me this is the same? Like if A then B, you it has to be somehow identifying this block of information as my voice.
Right.
And if it's scrubbed and anonymized, those two things cannot exist in the
Cannot.
world. You know.
Fair. Right. That's interesting, and especially I think for as you said, for anyone who's in a profession where they need confidentiality, it becomes very mission critical, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that brings me to another thing which you said. You say that you build human first AI, right?
Right.
Which is your approach versus an AI first approach, which the community, or I would say everyone in the on the internet has. So what's the difference? What's a human first approach and what's an AI first approach?
So the AI first approach. So the way I like to look at this is the level of automation between like the people who created automation, like Henry Ford, and the current level of automation, like Bezos and Elon Musk and these guys. Henry Ford automated his platform so that way he could have low skilled workers come into his factory and do the same thing over and over and over, and then paid them a better wage because he knew that that would be better for the business. He understood that having someone come and become a master at this button or this lever would allow them to buy the cars they're building. Now, he was not a good human. That has nothing to
Right.
do with this. It was just strictly business. This was 100%. If I pay them a livable wage, they will have a satisfaction. They will stay with me longer and they will make better cars and they will have disposable income and able to enter into the society that they are part of. This is the human first automation. This is
Hmm.
removing
Right.
the need for specialty by augmenting the human. Now, when you flash forward 150 years, now you get into guys like Bezos who are saying we don't need humans.
That's also one of the reasons I started doing this podcast, because I wanted to understand what I'm not sure if you've seen, but at ChaiNet, that's what I say, that human conversations in an AI world, because I want to see that what are the people behind the scenes actually working on, and what are we actually thinking. But what do you think, where is AI headed in the next 2 to 3 years? What should businesses actually focus on or prepare for?
Small language models. So
Hmm.
right now, it's again all of this hype. The hype cycle is almost over. I think
Right.
we're getting to a point where people like me will be paid very well to clean up a lot of the stuff. Like for instance, I'm really involved in like the conversion rate optimization marketing world. I've automated so many systems from Cisco to ADP to marketing agencies, like all of these like connection tools to allow
Right.
Airtable and ClickUp to talk to each other and all this stuff, right? But the problem that we're having right now is these large models they confuse and conflate what they're actually doing, and they're saying that they can do everything, and they're I think people are getting to a point where they're realizing that's not true. And they're like, man, I've spent all this money and all this time and I don't have anything to show for it. And like OpenAI just bought a company called StatSig in the last couple of days. StatSig is a program that allows marketers to run A/B tests on their website and
Hmm.
whatever, basically manipulate humans to make more money. But if you
Right.
think about the implicit or kind of what OpenAI is saying in that situation. They're saying, "Oh, well, let's just go and buy this software the same way that they bought all the other software in order to roll this up into these models." And there's just no way that the specificity needed to understand the UX UI of each individual business will be able to be rolled in, no matter how great the tool is that they purchased. It's just not going to happen. But
Right.
if you have somebody like DeepSeek or Falcon or Quen or any of these tools which can distill that, now we're talking because now it the way I like to describe this is a large language model. They understand the molecular atoms of pine wood in order to make a table, when that doesn't really matter if you
Hmm.
only need to know what a table is. If you need to know how to build a table and what the best tables are and what the best wood of all that is, that's fine. You don't need to know at the atomic level what that table wood is made of. And that actually is a
Right.
detriment to you because you have to go and start doing top P and top K and all the statistical modeling to get away from that. When in reality, you just need to know what a table is. So the
Hmm.
small models that are very specific to a very like niche thing, like supervised fine tuning is going to be, I believe, what every business is going to do. So
Right.
if we come in and we say, hey, I am XYZ marketing agency and I specifically target plumbers, well, then you don't need to know the UI UX of doctors or like Instagram.
Right.
You need to understand intimately what someone who needs a plumber is going to be looking for. And the platform only needs to understand this is the mindset of someone who's looking for a plumber. Any
Correct.
other mindset or consideration set is a detriment to that small model because that is just adding noise that you have to filter through, and there's no reason for it. So I believe in the next like 2, 3 years, the only thing that we're going to find is on-device models that are
Hmm.
probably like 800 meg, 900 meg, and they'll just run on any phone or any laptop or anything like that. And these whole huge gargantuan models, they'll still be there, but those are going to be there for like enterprise.
Hmm.
And I don't think OpenAI, Claude, all of these tools are going to be a SaaS because there's no monetization there. Like they're burning VC money right now to subsidize the speed. But as soon as we can get into the four digit token per second in the offline model, there's no reason that anyone would ever go and spend the money to go and give this to the $1 trillion infrastructure that OpenAI is. Because right
Right.
now, sure, you can go offline and you can get several hundred up to like 900 tokens a second, and it seems pretty quick, but it's
Hmm.
nowhere near the 1,800, 1,900 tokens a second you're getting from a million, you know, GPUs that are running in a football field in Colorado. Like it's
Correct.
just, you're just
You
not going to
cannot
get that.
compare with that. Yes.
You can't, but you will if it's a small model. Because
Hmm.
with a small model, you're using, if you're on device, for instance, and you can quant it down and still get the answer to what's the best table to build, and you can get that by replicating a smaller context window, then it doesn't really matter tokens a second because you're only getting X amount of context window. So if you only need a 10K context window and you can get the actual answers that you need, then the inference speed doesn't really matter because it's such a smaller scale. And that
Correct.
opens up for people that are in like Bangladesh and Cambodia and all these places that don't have high speed internet, don't have access to this information. You can democratize the information, which is why China is winning right now because they are building wind farms and water mills to power these like 50% powered GPUs and building tools that are better at specific things than
Right.
China ever could be, you know? So that's like where I think it's going, is it's going to be the economic and environmental output that we are dealing with. The government is really slow to do anything, but eventually we're going to get people that say, hey, wait a minute. Like, why are we using all of this water to cool these things for no real reason? Like, businesses are going to start realizing they don't need huge $1 million models when they
Hmm.
can just get a distilled model that works on a phone. You
Correct.
know?
Correct. Yeah. Of course. And yeah, I think once we have those, then large language model probably would be then more, used towards content creation and those kind of things. But for specific use cases, we'll probably have on device small language models. Yes,
Yeah.
that's very it's a very good insight. And you're right, like in the next 2 to 3 years we might have that. So, Sean, I have some small questions for our listeners. Which basically can help them know a bit more about the industry and get your point of view. So, in one sentence, what's the most dangerous AI myth which you feel is out there?
That you don't need to understand how it works.
Hmm. Very interesting. True. And what's one thing which most people think is impossible with AI, but you've actually done it?
Tabular data. So parsing CSVs into structured data into an LLM and getting back responses. Now, what I would say in that is the LLM themselves will never be able to parse tabular data. Just won't happen. Like feeding it an Excel sheet and then saying, go to cell X, Y, or Z and then do something with it, never going to happen. But if you can convert that tabular data into like a structured data like JSON, you can deal with it in a multidimensional array, no problem. But they're coming at it from the wrong angle. They're trying to shoehorn tabular Excel data into the LLM without structuring it first. So
That doesn't
yeah,
work.
no, will never work.
Hmm. True. And if you were forced to put money on some, at least on just one AI trend, which you think will survive the hype, what would it be?
Image and video creation is
Right.
not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one AI use case which is clearly being solved well. Right.
Yeah.
And with every new model coming out, we're actually moving forward to it. Wonderful, Sean. Thank you so much for cutting through all the noise today and showing us what's real, what matters, and how businesses actually win with automation. Without selling all their data and all their and their souls to the cloud. For anyone listening who's ready to ditch the duct tape, reclaim control, and experience the true power of human first offline AI, Sean's your man. And yeah, if you love this episode, please share your thoughts or AI stories with us, and don't forget to subscribe for more real world conversations like that.